do you think that's how people should think about their educations now, as much more of like a continuous journey rather than end at 18 or 22, whatever that number is after you graduate? Do you think that that's more likely kind of how the world will start working now, of like needing to get kind of refreshed on skills, or how do you think about that?
Well, I have a lot of continuing education I have to do as a lawyer. So I have to do that every single year. This was more, I think, if you want to, what I would say to people is if you want to advance in business, no matter what your specialty is, you can be an HR person, you can be a legal person, you can be the person who does R&D for food. If you ultimately want to advance to the executive ranks, you have to understand business. Like, you have to understand the basics of how a business operate and how they report results. Like, you just have to. So you can get that in undergrad by doing a business minor, which is what I'm encouraging my kids to do. You can get that later, like I did. I could have gotten some of it in law school, but it didn't really interest me because I didn't understand it. So I didn't focus on those sorts of classes. But I think it is not critical to be successful in a certain lane of business. If I wanted to just stay as the labor and employment lawyer, I didn't have to learn that. I just didn't. But to become a general counsel and to be on the executive team, I have to understand the business and I have to be able to talk knowledgeably about our balance sheet. It's just a requirement of the job. And I didn't have that skill. I also did training on how to be a corporate secretary and other things that are necessary to be a GC. And then when the time came, I was selected. And it's an unusual path to go from labor and employment to GC. Most GCs are securities or corporate lawyers. So I'm proud of it. I advocate regularly among my lawyer groups that companies are missing out.
To be a little more diverse in their selection
The
process?
labor and employment lawyers, they understand people. Like, that is one of the most important skills. You can teach mergers, like, but being able to really understand the people aspect of a business, which is, like, for most businesses, your most valuable asset are your employees. Like, really understanding that can be such a benefit to the company.
Now, you mentioned the person that was previously in the role at True Value was a mentor figure. So how have those like helped or shaped your life, or did you get them later in your career? Was it something more organic with her, or would you advocate for kind of young professionals trying to gain mentors as early as they possibly can?
I would say I did not, I don't, if you had said to me, who was your mentor while I was at United, I don't know that I would have called any of the people who were helping me along the way my mentor, but looking back, I had a whole host of them. I didn't have a super formalized, I'm going to meet with you every week kind of mentor relationship, but I had a lot of people who were giving me advice along the way that helped me develop. So it was piecemeal kind of mentorship, but super valuable. At True Value, I think it was a little, again, she was my boss. She never said, I'm your mentor. I just found her, uh, the way that she managed her work and her life to be really interesting and inspiring. And I think she invested a lot in trying to make me see that I had more potential than I realized. So that is not a structured mentorship, but there's no question when I look back, I would say she's the one who influenced me the most. And some of it was just watching her do the job, watching her and how she handled the role was hugely instructive. I am involved now in much more formalized mentorship programs in my own company and through corporate law kind of organizations I'm involved with. I do think those are very valuable as well. The organic ones I was lucky enough to come upon don't happen to everyone. So I like the idea that we try to guarantee it for people, as opposed to just hoping that it will happen.
What do you think it takes to be a good leader? Like, what would you say are the biggest characteristics?
I think being connected to the business, understanding the business, what is driving the business, and explaining to your people why what they do matters is one of the most underutilized leadership skills that exist. So many leaders are just like, go, we need to hit this, this, and this. Having them understand that hitting this, this, and this means the business will be able to do X, Y, and Z, and connecting that is really important. Saying I need every commitment that we have outlined in a contract is different than saying when the company has contracts, we guarantee this level of return on our investment. That is different than what we do when we don't have paper governing this, for example. So I think that is really important. But also equally important is recognizing that people are people, and what motivates people is very different. How you lead people differs per individual. How I motivate some people on my team is totally different than others. You have to understand each person and take them for what they bring of themselves to work every day. And we're much more than just the job that we produce. So I think that's a really, really critical thing to keep in mind.
And then now as a leader, are there any particular characteristics you look for in kind of like your younger team members, or any of those things that you try to spot out?
The single most important thing I am looking for is someone who recognizes the importance of mitigating risk and taking smart risk for a business as opposed to taking no risk. If my business took no risk, we would do nothing. Like, having this conversation has some risk. You could put it out there and it could make my company look like we're, you know, that we are risk takers who don't care about, things that we aren't. But like, deciding to partner with a certain customer has risk associated with it. What if they don't buy as much as we think? What if we produce too much? Like, everything has risk. So I think the most successful in-house lawyers coming in are those that come in knowing that there are very few things that we should be saying no to, absolutely, from a legal perspective. Like, can I embezzle? No. Can I make unsafe food that is going to hurt people? No, you cannot. Can I hurt someone? Like, can I murder someone? Can I shoot someone? No, you cannot. Besides that, I want my lawyers to answer the questions that are asked with, that's really risky. Like, what's your goal? And let's find a less risky way. Let's try to talk about a less risky way of getting there.